recording. Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Param Om. So as I was saying, it's the old dilemma. So all of us in the Western world, we got introduced to spirituality mostly through meditation. Yeah? You say meditation is spirituality, and then we are giving certain techniques, and most people give up because nobody can meditate, because we somehow need to have a certain meditative mind to be able to meditate. And I'm meditating because I want to have a calm, contemplative, meditative mind. But I don't manage to meditate unless I have a calm and, to a certain extent, meditative mind. And then it becomes what? It becomes a kind of a torture. And then we had the guru of the 70s and 80s, Osho Rajneesh, who came with the idea of dynamic meditations, okay? I don't know if you guys heard about that. You just shake your body. He used to make 1 hour session in which the first part you would do a lot of bioenergetics, different kinds of exercise to release stress and tension. And then in the last 15 or 10 minutes, you would sit quiet or lay down quietly. And then people would have a little taste of a quiet mind. And that was the way somehow I began, because I was far from having a meditative mind. But after going through that intense dynamic process of shaking off verbally and physically my stress, in the end, I was having a little taste here and there of a peaceful mind. And then after many years, I was able to sit and encounter another battle without having to shake my body, which was my mental process, because I want to meditate. And then slowly, I got into Vipassana. Vipassana helped me a lot. You understand? But I could see that most people would quit and in frustration, because how are you going to meditate? So that's why I see Vedanta as somehow a system which is incomparable with any other system, because we say you can't really meditate right from the get-go. You have to first live a certain lifestyle, observing certain things, being a calm yogi, and then if needed, you can go into meditation to develop the one-pointedness of mind, concentration, and so on. So, but we come to the spiritual world and say, oh, meditation is the key, like the guru of the Osho used to say, is the key, is the solution for everything, but nobody was qualified for that, And here we have a certain passage that reminds me of that. You have to the first thing to do is what? Is to bring your mind inwardly, to stop the mind going outwardly, And then it talks in terms, and you have to give up desires, And then it talks, you have to develop this passion. So there are many suggestions put there that one says, okay, I got it. I have to do this and this and this. Where I begin from? You understand? Where do I begin from? And Vedanta comes. So you have to begin by developing a certain understanding about God, about Ishvara, the Creator, and the laws and principle sustaining this apparent reality, and then gradually your mind is going to relax, and then later on you're going to be able to get into meditation if you wish, knowing that ultimately only a deep understanding will pacify the mind and produce your mind which is fit for Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. So here we saw some of these things. So you need to do this. The mind has to be bent inward, but it is restlessly moved outward. As long as the thoughts pop up, as long as the mind is going to be turning to its thoughts, and turning really inwardly becomes a dream, not accomplishable. As long as the mind is not inwardly direct, so long the self cannot be arised. Oh, thank you. Yes, we know that. So, and then the question is how to turn the mind inwardly. You need to go through a process of purification of the mind. So, and how do I do about that? Because I can't meditate. So the beginning steps is by living a Karma Yogi style of lifestyle, understanding your relationship with the Creator. And then he says, in order to turn the mind inwardly, you have to accomplish absence of desire. So my mind is turned outward because I have desires. Okay, good, thank you. So now you're telling me that I need to be done with desires to produce a desire-free mind. So everything is interconnected. The ignorance is one and the same. The symptoms are many, okay? So it's one ignorance, which is ignorance in respect to the true nature of the self, the I, and the world, or the apparent world, and God, and so on. But the symptoms are so many, and then we say, okay, this is the most important symptom, that is more than the symptoms are many. The cause is the same, self-ignorance, but we are not fit to address self-ignorance right from the beginning. We need to develop qualifications. We need to develop a certain preparedness of the body-mind complex. And that is something that nobody likes to hear. It does not have an appeal. You understand? Oh, I have to prep. How long I have to prep? Maybe a few lifetimes. I say, what? Are you going crazy? What kind of guru are you? There is a guru up there offering enlightenment, instant enlightenment. And you come, you are not going to have any client. Yes, that's the fact. There are no clients for Vedanta, Isn't it, Lynn?
I think that's true. But what I've found is that discipline has just so many rewards. It's one of the greatest gifts, the recognition of the necessity for discipline.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, and I understand that you mean to say to live a life in harmony with the guidelines presented by the revealed scriptures, and then I'm going to discipline myself in a religious spiritual way, and in a true religious spiritual way, because these scriptures, they were revealed to us, not from any man or woman. It's not a discipline such as, okay, I'm going to stop eating sugar. Okay, I'm a disciplined man or woman. No, it's a profound discipline, the discipline of not living my life governed only by my ignorance, my likes and dislikes. I'm going to discipline myself to understand the scriptures on karma, dharma, and conform my lifestyle and my actions and thoughts and words to these teachings, to these revelations. So it requires a lot of effort and discipline. You please give me 3 seconds. Oh, I think it was more like 5 seconds.
You know, the other thing about discipline is that it builds such inner strength and takes away so much self-doubt that you feel competent to approach Vedanta.
Yeah. I was going to say that, but you added already that confidence. Discipline is going to help us to build confidence. So yes, like the President Obama used to say, we can do it. Yes, we can. So you develop a certain confidence in yourself that you can grow and be free. So how can the mind be fixed within? With giving up of desire. Therefore, become dispassionate and inherent as the self. This is extractions on the final teachings of Vedanta, and these are certain pointers that are not completely addressed in terms of a manual, Vedantic manual by which you can go and accomplish this goal, because it bypasses karma, dharma, yoga, as we know. You understand? There is no karma yoga, no dharma yoga. It's just the final teachings, and say, okay, this is the condition, and then it's left the disciples appearing in these stories. We've seen the story, you know. They have to use their willpower, and we have to presuppose that they are highly qualified, and then they listen, they hear to these pointers without much elaboration, and then they retreat in contemplation. Then they come back and say, yes, I understood a little bit more, but I have more questions. You understand? So if one is highly qualified, these pointers may be enough. Yeah? Become dispassionate, inherent in the self as the self. Such inherence is spontaneous, and no effort is needed to be there. So I mentioned something about that. So yes, so once this knowledge, this understanding is clear and firm, and then one does not forget, I am the free self. Free of what? Free from the experience of this body-mind construct. So once I get to that understanding, and then it's firm. I don't need to make any effort to inherit as the self. But before this clarity, this firm conviction and clear conviction is properly established, we need to do some effort. Effort in what? Not in becoming the self, but understanding more and more clearly that I am not the intellect, I am not the mind, the emotions, I am consciousness, pure, limitless consciousness. So, and then comes a point that effort or discipline is not really necessary anymore. It is realized after thoughts are eliminated and investigation ceases. Yeah, the thoughts about the world are eliminated, and the thoughts about the self revealed by the Upanishads are taken. So I eliminate the samsaric thoughts, and I take in the Upanishadic thoughts, and then I do my investigation in the light of these Upanishadic teachings. And then recapitulate your state after you break off from it, and then you will know all the significance of its being knowable and unknowable. And then afterwards, again, it's a yogic kind of instruction. You go into that kind of samadhi, and then when you come back in retrospective, you recapitulate that state, and then you will know all and the significance of the self being something knowable at the same time, unknowable at the same time, and realizing the unknowable, one abides in immortality forever and ever. So these yogic paths, they are dangerous, okay, because they leave the seeker with some experiential assumptions that realization is an experience of nirvikalpa samadhi, okay? And then once you come back, you are going to, in retrospect, you are going to recapitulate your experience of samadhi, and then you understand, yes, it's not knowable, it's not unknowable, and I am consciousness, and consciousness was there. But, I mean, unless the person is already deep into Vedanta, nirvikalpa samadhi is not going to bring the person to this conclusion. And why I say that with conviction? Because this is what we see in the spiritual world. I met some people, and again and again I talk about Ramana Maharshi, because he was a great soul with a great, profound self-realization. And he himself was not prescribing nirvikalpa samadhi. You understand? He was prescribing self-inquiry. So and he used to say, and I heard stories from Papaji, he used to say, don't fall into samadhi, stay awake and alert, okay? It's just like deep sleep, okay? So just stay and inquire, who are you? Of course, he did not present the teachings of Vedanta, the complete teachings, so that one can make that investigation with a better chance to accomplish the end result. And why I say that as well, because I have been back and forth to Tiruvannamalai for a few years, and I realized firsthand experience that even the great guys who go there do speeches on the teachings of the master, they say a lot of things that are completely off. You understand? And then speaking with James as well here and there, and he also brought to my attention that unfortunately for over 50 years, there was basically almost no self-realized people there. There were just a bunch of yogis and devotees, and some of these yogis present themselves as the teachers of the teachings of the great master Ramana Maharaj. But I have been to those audience, listening to them, and I was like, oh my God, look what he says here, look what he says there. I would run back and tell Ramji what I heard, and then he would put his hand and, oh my God, I know, I understand, it is like that, and those were the biggest, the top guys that everybody in Tiruvannamalai talk about him. This is the greatest one. He's carrying on the teachings of the great master, but he did not understood really. They are just scholars that are there. So I don't know if you heard me telling a little bit of that story. One of them was like, I say, yes, because mind is the enemy, mind is a poison, mind is the snake, and we need to kill the mind and this and that, because if we don't take care of the mind is going to poison not only your mind, yourself, but it's going to poison the others. And then he went round and round and round and round to tell that Ramana's cancer was due to his devotees' poisoned mind. That Ramana's cancer was not a result of Ramana's soul's karma, but the result of the poisoned mind of his disciples. He said it clearly. He went round and round and round for almost 1 hour of satsang. In the end, he came to say that. Went running to tell James about that. And we were both like, oh my God, And these are the great Mahatmas, dress up beautifully, all in white, talking big, everybody touching their feet and so on. So we have to be careful with Tripura, Rahasya on certain passage, but I try to edit it so that we don't fall into these confusions. And then this beautiful being in a female body said, I have now finished. And salutations to you, young disciple, young sage, young scholar. Now that you recognize that your knowledge was just academic, I say goodbye to you. I leave you with the king, because the king and me are the only ones here who understood it. I leave you with the king, and king is going to be your guru, because, I belong to other realms. I just came here because the situation was a little bit dire, and I had to intervene. So, but you have not, farewell, but you have not yet understood my words. Okay, I have said so much. I had a satsang with a guy here in Brazil yesterday for 1 hour. I bombed him. He had so many questions. He's relatively new. I have given him so much. And I was like, he was like, and then I say, okay, so if 20 or 30% goes in, it's already a great accomplishment, because it's too much to take in. You understand? And likewise, she says, I have finished. I gave you all these beautiful satsang, these beautiful teachings, profound teachings, but you have not yet understood my words perfectly, because this is the first time that you're in contact with this ultimate truth. But this king, the wisest among men, can make you understand. He is going to be your guru. Ask him, and he will clear all your doubts. When she finished, she was honored by the king and the entire assembly. And then she instantly dissolved in air and disappeared from human sight. Beautiful scene, huh? I'd like to see something like that. I mean, I'm not crazy for it. I don't take it all literally, but I would like to see an epiphany like that. You like those kinds of things. So just imagine a being like that of light comes and then gives us some satsang, beautiful satsang, and then poof, disappears again. It would be a wonderful experience. I would highly appreciate that, to have a contact with the invisible world,
A good party trick, Arlindo.
Huh?
A good party trick.
Yeah. And then Dattatreya said, I have now relayed to you, Parashurama, the method of self-realization. So please get it and leave him alone. So Dattatreya is trying to get rid of Parashurama since quite a while here. But then Parashurama heard the story, and he went back to his cave, and he was marveling greatly, and he was really bringing more doubts. And he came back to his guru, Dattatreya, and said, Lord, this ancient legend is marvelous. Please tell me what Ashtavakra asked the king. So now you told me the king was going to be his guru, and he was a humble and fit and qualified disciple. And so tell me, how was the interaction? Because I think I need further instructions. Which instructions he received? I had no heard this stuff. What is this word there? Heard. I had not.
It means basically up until now.
Okay. I had not heard the story up to now. And it's beautiful, full of sublime truths. Just imagine my situation 30 years ago when I was living in Lucknow, and I read this book. And this book was famous there around Papaji. I mean, this book, I mean, I saw the beauty. How much I understood about that? Maybe 30%, 20%. You understand? But I could see the light. I could see, the sublime truths in this book. I said, my God, this book is a bomb, And then I read it over the years again and again, a little bit there, but I had no means to understand because it was not, properly elaborated, and only people who are up there, in their understanding can understand this somehow. These pointers deprived of much elaboration. Huh? So he asked Dattatreya, so I'm very anxious to hear it more. Being so requested, Dattatreya, the great sage and master, continued the whole narrative. Listen, O Bhagava, to the discourse with Janaka. On the departure of the whole ascetic from their vision, Ashtavakra, the son of a sage, asked Janaka, who was surrounded by a whole group of pandits. So everybody was there, everybody was benefiting, everybody was enjoying. We should not think that only the young sage was brought down, from his arrogance. The entire audience there, the entire surround, of the pandits, everybody was slapped as well from there, indirectly. And Janaka was surrounded, and the full explanation of the ascet's brief but recounted speech. I shall now tell you Janaka's reply, to which you must listen attentively. Ashtavakra asked, O king Videha, well, O king Janaka, I have not understood the teaching of the ascetic because of its brevity. You see, because it's a telegraphic teaching. Some teachings, they are presented in a telegraph mode, like Ramana's teachings, Nisargadatta teachings, and all these people in the spiritual circles around there, which just pull some fragments of the Upanishads and present them without elaboration. So either because they don't know how to elaborate on the teachings, they haven't understood, or because they only want to deal with the people who already understand it to a certain extent, which was more or less the situation of Nisargadatta, maybe, from my understanding, that he was not willing to deal with entry-level students. That's why he used to chase away people going there dressed up as devotees of Osho Rajneesh. Listen attentively. Ashtavakra asked, O king, I have not clearly understood. Being thus asked, Janaka, as if surprised, he said, I have not clearly understood the passage of the teaching in which the ascet explained the situation of knowable and unknowable. So how I'm going to know that which is unknowable? Again, the same point is one of those Vedantic contradictions that makes people confused. But it's all very simple, as we know. Being thus asked, Janaka, as if surprised, replied. So why he was surprised? Maybe he thought, Parasurama, you should have understood already Satya Mithya and not mix up Satya with Mithya. Therefore, you understand, that the self is known, but not within Mithya, is known within your nature in Satya. And so if you would have understood Satya Mithya, so you are surprising me because, I have been teaching you since the beginning of this book. All those son of a sage, listen to me. It's neither unknowable nor remains unknown at any moment. Again, more of the same contradiction. It's neither unknowable nor it remains unknown at all times, at any moment. Tell me how even the humblest of masters can guide one to something which always remains unknown. So if it is unknown, how can we have so many teachers teaching about the self? If we say, no, it's not known. We hear this thing, people who are experienced or silence oriented, you know, sometimes I deal with people like that. They just say, no, I don't want to get into Vedanta because, you know, I enjoy silence. And when you bring too much words, it means that you don't know it, because the people who know does not say a word, you know. So a lot of people, you know, have this confusion. So as we know, silence does not remove people's ignorance. Knowledge will remove, but knowledge is not going to produce the self, because the self is always ever present and realized. It's just a question of understanding. So we have all these teachers teaching. It is an indication that it can be taught, and they are teaching because people should know their true nature. Is it unknown? No, it is known. The proof of it is that we have a lot of, you know, gurus, teachers, teaching it, passing on this knowledge. It means to say that it's knowable. It can be known. If a guru can teach this knowledge, it means that the guru knows what he says. So hopefully, hopefully. This transcendental knowledge is quite easy. Why it's a transcendental knowledge? I'm replacing the word state with knowledge. Why it is a transcendental knowledge? Because it's not knowledge in regards to anything of this world. It's something that transcends the world, although it is not in any place and time that needs you to move in a special transcendental trip or journey. No, it's the substratum of meteor. The only reality is the substratum. So it transcends the perception and the mind who try to find it, you know, sensorially. This transcendental knowledge is quite easy, or maybe well-nigh impossible according to one's mind. If one mind is inwardly bent, in peace, or moving out restlessly. So it cannot be taught if it always remains unknown. So if it's not knowable, and then it could never be taught, if it could never be taught, so Ishwara would never have revealed to the rishis, and the rishis would not teach them and create a tradition, sampradaya, paramparana, in which the guru teaches his disciples, and the disciples, they become teachers and keep passing it on. So all of that proves that the self can be known. Okay, so to begin with, the fact that the Vedas point to it only indirectly as not this, not this, not this, and nothing of this, because it's nothing of this world of matter and energy, not shows that the knowledge can be imparted to others. So even the net teaching, not this, not that, not anything that can be seen and experienced and known is the self, is a way, it's a form of knowledge that can be imparted to others. Okay, so how we do that? How we bring about this knowledge? Indirectly, as sometimes I point out, by indicating to the disciples that it's not this, it's not this, it's not that. And then when you start understanding that cannot be found in the world, in the material world, and then you are halfway done with your work, because if it's not out, it can be only in. And then people start looking for it inside. And then they begin looking for it in the brain, in the nose, and then they go to the digestion system looking for it. They go all over the body looking for the self. And then until they understand that it's not in that sense, it's not in the physical body, it's in the sense that it's my essential, true, fundamental essence or nature, which is something beyond the intellect and the mind, and it's something that vivifies this intellect and the body-mind complex. So it's we teach it indirectly by saying it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. So to produce a condition in which the disciple stops looking for it somewhere other than in itself. But the mistake that most people make is like, I'm going to look into myself, but then they start looking into their mental, emotional, psychological structure, which is not to be found, because that is more material. Those are objects, okay, that as well has to be rejected as not this. So until we go through the outer physical material negations and the internal negations of anything that can be seen, known, and experienced by me, and then I come to a good point in which I find a mind which is prepared to see its own light, its own source of light.
So at the same time, there's nothing apart from the self. It super saturates all experience, it pervades all experience. So it can't just be not this. It has to be all this, right?
Well, this is a trick teaching, because it's better understood from the standpoint that everything fundamentally is the self, is resolved as the self, but the self is none of these things. You understand? So everything resolves itself in their essential nature as conscious existence. But conscious existence is not any of this. That's the passage in the Bhagavad Gita, in which Krishna Guru says, everything is in me, but I'm not in any of this. So when we say that the self is in everything, we need to have to be careful in respect to that understanding, that pointer. It's in everything as the substratum, is in everything as light, as the space, but nothing is really in it. Okay, so nothing is in the light, nothing is in the space. So anything that is a substratum, and it's absolutely not affected by anything it contains, it's not really of the same nature of those things, which apparently it contains. You understand? So
If you think those things as real, because they're not,
yeah.
If you think it's from is it from the point of view of mind-body complex that one thinks of them as real? So then, I think I understand what you're saying. I think I get it.
So everything exists. So let's go to back to the chair. Everything exists in you, Lynn, as consciousness. Okay. And but if you take yourself to be the body mind, you feel like everything exists out there and I am here. If you define yourself as consciousness, and then you understand that the mind of this body mind is happening in you, and through this body mind, the whole world is appearing in you. You understand? But I'm not really in the world. The world is somehow superimposed on me, but I'm not imposing myself. I'm not associated with anything. If we look from the beginning of your statement, we say that consciousness is associationless, you know. It's not, it's a sangha. It's not associated to anything, okay? But everything is associated to consciousness because everything owns their existence to consciousness. You understand? But it's a one-way road. Consciousness, because of its nature in Satya, as Satya, is not associated. It's exactly like the metaphor of the image projected in the screen. You understand? So the screen is there and it's absolutely not associated with the image, but the image, they own their existence to the screen. You understand? The image are associated with the screen to the extent that without the screen, they have no existence on their own. You know? So, but it's not the other way around. So,
Thank you.
you're most welcome. And then he says here that the Treya says, this transcendental state is quite easy, not easy, or maybe well nigh impossible according to the quality of one's mind. If it's sattvic, peaceful, or if it is restless, outwardly oriented mind. It cannot be taught. Yeah, the fact the Vedas point to it indirectly, it proves that it can be taught indirectly. Okay, so again, going back to this point, I often I take many times I say things that I never read in the scripture, but I feel confident that they are in harmony with the teachings. And this is something I started saying many years back, that self-knowledge is an indirect knowledge, but Vedanta or this body of knowledge teaches it indirectly. You understand? Because we can never teach directly the self is this, and this, and this. You know, we can only reveal it. The scripture reveals it indirectly, because once you discard or reject everything that is known or experienced by me as the not self, and then you are revealing the self by and by indirectly, because you can never tell anybody the self is this. At the most you say you are the self, and then it's left to the disciple to define what was meant by you. What is this I? You understand? You know, you are the self. Okay, great. Okay, now I got my certificate and I'm a great enlightened person. So no, if you feel that way, you do not understand. You are superimposing, you know, the body mind on the self, which in Satya, when we say that you are the self, this is the truth. Okay. It can only be understood when you understand first that the body mind is not the self. Otherwise, you're going to, the ego is not the self. Otherwise, you're going to superimpose the ego on the self. Oh, yes, great. Okay, now I am the enlightened. I lost many friends trying to explain that in certain moments in which they want to claim that they were enlightened. And usually, I don't challenge anybody on that, because only the person is able to know for sure. But Yanni can smell easily if it is the imposter superimpose itself on the self or not. But it doesn't matter. Here it says that, and then it says, the fact that Vedas point out to it indirectly is a proof that it can be taught to others. Whatever you see becomes known by this very abstract intelligence. So abstract is a good word, but the better word is more subtle principle, okay, which is knowledge or consciousness, okay, which consciousness can be present as intelligence, because intelligence is one of the attributes, okay, or natures of consciousness. So consciousness is about become intelligent when Ishvara and the human jivas come into the equation, or maybe other jivas as well, you know, because even everybody has certain intelligence. Because every creature was intelligent designed, as we know. But here it's saying abstract, consciousness is abstract. Yeah, it's the most subtle, as the scriptures say. But we want to avoid abstractions. One of my concerns when I teach Vedanta is to avoid vagueness and abstractions. If you leave things too much to vagueness and abstractions, you start moving into what? Into the esoteric aspects of the teachings of Vedanta. So like we heard before that Shimayananda was sometimes criticized by being teaching mystical Vedanta or esoteric Vedanta. When we leave things too much into the vague and abstract with the use of experiential language and so on, we incur in this kind of a risk, you know. So why I don't like to put consciousness as something vague or abstract, although it's the most subtle of the subtle, it can be presented intelligently by following the logic and the analysis, indisputable logic and analysis presented by the Upanishads. So when you follow the logic, no matter, regardless of how subtle it may be, it still is a logic. And then you are no longer in the field of vagueness or abstract. There is no intellect that's going to be full satisfied with vague self-knowledge, with an abstract self-knowledge. Do you understand, Lynn? Now, carefully analyze the underlying consciousness, which, though abstract and subtle and apart from material objects, yet illumines them all the same. You see, another pointer for you, Lynn, and careful for analyzing this underlying consciousness, this substratum. Yeah? Here we're talking of the Chit aspect of Brahman, this intelligence, this consciousness, which sought abstract, super subtle, and apart from the material world. It is not part of the material world, it is apart. Okay, so is the world, the material world, apart from consciousness? No. Without consciousness, there is no material world. Everything is just what? It's a reflection in consciousness. This analogy of the reflection, the world is a reflection. The reflection of the seat, you know, like in the Tripura, the three seats, the three states, is a beautiful metaphor. So we have this consciousness, and then we have Maya producing the reflecting medium, and then we have this beautiful, or not really beautiful, howsoever we see it, a universe, and which owns its existence to consciousness, but consciousness remains free and independent, meaning to say it's not part of it. It is apart from it. You understand? But being apart from the universe, the world, yet it reflects the world the same way. No? It's like the analogy of the light. The light is going to illumine anything. Oh, no, but this is terrible stuff. I don't want to illuminate, reveal. I mean, there is some violence, there is some assassination, some torture happened here. I'm not going to illuminate, reveal any of that. No, consciousness is like that. No? Illumines everything all the same without any difference or discrimination, because it's the nature of consciousness is what? To reflect whatsoever is happening in this apparent order of reality. And all of that is for us, so that we can learn through these reflections. Know it to be the truth. This super subtle consciousness, which illumines everything all the same. What is not self-luminous can only fall within the orbit of intelligence and cannot be intelligence itself. This is a good point. A lot of people is confused in the spiritual world. What is self-luminous can only fall the truth. No, sorry. What is self-luminous can only fall within the orbit of intelligence.
What is not, it says, what is not self-luminous.
Yeah, thank you. What is not self-luminous can only fall within the light of consciousness. Consciousness is going to illumine everything. Everything is falling within the scope of consciousness, the only illuminator. Okay? It falls within the orbit of this conscious existence, and they are not intelligence itself. So a lot of people, especially nowadays in this time of Kali Yuga, in which people are trying to erase the creator from the equation of this planet, and believe that nature is itself the creator. Now you probably have understood already this concept present here and there. No, nature is itself the creator, and we can mess up with nature and then we play God because we are more intelligent than nature, maybe, because I can create a nice fusion between biological human beings with AI, and then I'm above nature. They think that there is no creator, there is no God. Okay, so, and why? Because people look at this material universe and they see intelligence in there, and then they think that matter, being intelligent, it somehow it creates itself. They don't understand that matter and energy have no intelligence. They are just intelligently designed. Because they are intelligent design, it gives scientists the idea that they own intrinsically that intelligence belongs to them. No, that intelligence belongs to the creator, but people cannot see that. And then they go into materialism and they start try to go against the notion, the spiritual religion notion of the creator. What is not self-luminous can only fall within the orbit of this conscious illuminator, and cannot be the consciousness itself, the intelligence. Intelligence is that by which objects are known. So simple. Intelligence, consciousness is that by which objects are known. This intelligence does not belong to the object. It belongs to I, the subject, the absolute subject. Intelligence is that by which objects are known. It cannot be what it is if it becomes an object of knowledge. So more breaking down of this teaching in regards to being knowable and unknowable. So consciousness is not knowable in science. Science is, I hear so much about that because I relate to some people in the USA, which are relatives, and they believe they are very highly spiritual people or something like that. And they make this confusion, they stuck in this confusion, you understand? So they believe that, that consciousness is the mind, and we can improve consciousness, and you can find consciousness in science, in the atom, in the structures, deeper structures of the atom in space. So they are looking for consciousness in media. They will never find consciousness. Consciousness is not an object of knowledge. It's the light of the scientists searching for consciousness. They are all looking for consciousness. And then they start talking about consciousness, my consciousness, and that consciousness, human consciousness is going to expand now, and so on. They are totally mixed up, mind and consciousness. It's the light in which everything is known, in the light in which we know what we know and we know what we do not know. If it becomes an object to be discovered by science or by anybody, it is media, it's not satya. It will never become an object of knowledge. What is intelligible, what is knowable, must always be different from this conscious intelligence itself, or else it could not be made known by it. So we cannot know anything without this conscious supreme intelligence itself. So anything that is known by me is not this supreme consciousness. Consciousness is never seen objectively. It's never known by the intellect as something within the phenomenal world. Intelligence in the abstract cannot admit parts. So this consciousness, as we know, is so subtle and is so whole and complete. And we put a further explanation there, saying that it's Purna, it is a partless whole. It's not made by parts. It's the most subtle, which is the characteristic of objects. The parts is the characteristic of every configuration in media. Maya Ishvara makes everything as a blend, a mix, a cocktail of the elements and the energies, and every object is going to follow its characteristic and its nature, which is composed by many, many parts. Many parts. So the body-mind is a part. It's an organism made by parts. As we know, we have organs, internal organs, external organ, and then we have a subtle body. But there are so many parts in that which makes a human being a body-mind intelligent creature. Yeah? So sometimes some of these parts go broken, and then it's difficult to operate and transact in this world. All objects take on shapes and attributes and qualities, and carefully watch absolute intelligence after eliminating all else from it. Beautiful. So very carefully now, and now this is a pointer that I like. Carefully understand this absolute conscious existence, this supreme intelligence as yourself, after eliminating everything which is captured within it, everything that's known within this absolute conscious intelligence. After you eliminate everything that was captured in consciousness, which was illumined and revealed in consciousness, and then you are getting close closer and closer to understand consciousness as your very nature. And the point here that I enjoyed in this passage is in carefully watch. So this word watch has a experiential connotation, you understand? Because it could be like carefully understand this absolute intelligence. But here and there we have these experiential words that I enjoy and I find value. Watch, observe. You are going to observe this absolute consciousness, this absolute knowingness, intelligence. You can observe it carefully. Observe, watch. How I'm going to watch it as the light, not as anything illumined by this light. Observe. I mean, there is an experiential element to self-knowledge because it can be experienced as the light that illumines and reveals the world. And this is the way by which I began grasping my true nature. I was seeing that consciousness is not something absolute foreign to our human experience because it can be experienced as the light. Oh, beautiful. I mean, we feel almost never stopping this text, huh? Anything from you guys?
No, thank you. It is beautiful. And that's part of the romance of this text is that experiential yogic thing going on in it, you know, and but then as you bring out the Vedanta aspect, it's complete in that sense.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's not by chance that Shimayananda was using so much these experiential terms and pointers because it makes it a little more juicy, a little more attractive. You understand? And after all, there is an experiential, to my take, an experiential aspect in self-knowledge, which is the experience of identity as the light. You are going to say something, Mark?
I was going to say about the last sentence, carefully watch absolute intelligence after eliminating all else from it. For me, it works the other way round. When I sit in meditation, I see a thought arise, and that thought then turns my mind towards consciousness, because the thought can only appear within consciousness. Being aware of the consciousness is made much easier when thoughts seldom or occasionally arise in the mind. If thoughts are always there, it distracts the mind. But when thoughts occasionally come up, it's like, oh, that is a prover of consciousness. That proves it to me, and that makes me much more aware of it.
Yeah.
Almost like the rays of sun shining through space. Until they've got something to reflect on, you can't see them as such. So the thoughts work like that.
Yeah. Your sadhana is not in contradiction with what is saying that we eliminate the thoughts to the degree that we withdraw from them and we bring our attention to the light which illumines it. So it's a very, very profound and elevated sadhana of using any phenomenal object to take us to the light, revealing and illumining them. So we see it in several of our texts. It's one of the best meditations, but I only want to bring to your attention that is one form of eliminating or rejecting objects without rejecting it. Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say, use the world or the objects in the world as advertisements of the absolute, you know? Beautiful, huh? So you see it and say, wow, there it is, you know, I consciousness again illumine this and this and this and this. It's a wonderful sadhana. and it's a way of withdrawing our attention to the world and directing it to the source of the world. Very, very nice. This was a very beautiful satsang. I'm going to post it on my Facebook with a recommendation note. Oh, Doc, my brothers and my sister, and we meet again next Monday, Ishwara willing. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste, love you. See you soon again. Arrivederci, bye now.
Okay, thank you, Arvindo. Bye now. Bye now, Lynn. Okay.
Okay?